What a coincidence, working on a Saturday. Just as if he happened to pass by, our classmate David comes over to us while we're having a meeting in the hotel lounge. I had anticipated this would happen ever since he overheard our conversation at the reunion, but I'm afraid to see the other party's face. When I timidly check their expression, they're looking at me as if they're extremely displeased. I'm in the middle of an important meeting. Can we talk some other time? The more I try to be accommodating, the more David seems to enjoy it. Pointing at me with the enthusiasm of a detective accusing a criminal in a drama, he says, "This guy is the kind of person who would steal my girlfriend. I wouldn't recommend doing business with him. How about doing business with us instead?" When I reach out to Sarah, my secretary, for help, she sends a message back saying, "There's no problem at all." Sarah must have a plan. She's excellent at her job, and following her advice has never led me astray. Believing in her words, I take a deep breath. It must be frustrating for you, right? Let me give you a piece of good advice. My wife is an incredibly capable secretary. Thinking my silence is an admission of defeat, David continues. You, with your limited education, couldn't even dream of associating with, let alone meeting such a high-spec beauty. I hope help arrives in time. As if my prayers were answered, a black luxury car emerges from the underground parking and stops right in front of us. President Thompson, I'll take it from here. Seeing Sarah step out of the car, David turns pale. My name is Michael Thompson. I run a company that deals with wedding foods. It all started with a part-time job during my college days. I applied for a wedding staff position simply because it paid well. Seeing the happy faces of the brides, grooms, and guests made me want to work in the wedding industry, something I never imagined would lead me to start my own company. After working as a company employee for 8 years after graduating, I started my own business at 30. Before I knew it, the company had been running for over 10 years, and I was 42. Currently, we collaborate with various companies to provide unique wedding foods, which has made us popular among the younger generation. Though it hasn't been all smooth sailing, seeing the smiles on the faces of the brides, grooms, and guests on social media comments has always made it all worthwhile. It's been a cycle of that ever since. I think I've led a not-so-bad life. I don't want to go. The invitation to the reunion arrived just as I was facing a crucial moment, wondering whether a significant contract would be finalized. I'm already fretting on a daily basis. The last thing I need is more trouble. Apparently, I seem approachable and have been told that people find it easy to confide in me, regardless of gender. Having lent an ear to classmates, colleagues, bosses, and subordinates over the years has enhanced my communication skills, which has been beneficial in my current job, making all those consultations a good experience for me. However, there's one bitter memory. During my second year of high school, a female classmate consulted me about her boyfriend, David. David was in the same class, and although we didn't talk much, he was someone I knew. He's just too childish, getting sulky whenever things don't go his way. I strongly agreed with her. David's immature thinking often complicated things during team sports and group activities. Internally, I thought it would be better for her to break up with him, but it seemed she had no intention of doing so. It was one of those typical situations where the girl had already made up her mind and just wanted someone to listen. So I just listened without offering any specific advice. Thank you. I feel relieved after talking to you, so I'll hold off on breaking up for now. She looked refreshed after our conversation, which made me feel good about lending an ear. But then the problem arose. Hey, it's your fault we broke up. The next day, David was waiting for me at the front of the classroom, looking like he was ready for a confrontation. My fault. I just listened to her concerns, and she said she was considering breaking up but decided against it. Just listening. Don't play dumb. Someone saw you two looking cozy and chatting in the classroom. You two are involved, aren't you? Despite dodging a conversation about breaking up, It seems he pressed her and ended up steering towards a breakup himself. Thanks to female students who knew the situation stepping in, my classmates didn't misunderstand, but David alone insisted. They definitely have something going on. Afterward, he kept picking on me for anything, and we ended up in the same class the next year, leading to his so-called revenge continuing until we graduated from high school. I'd get called out by teachers for candy bars found in my desk that I knew nothing about, and whenever I had a girlfriend, he'd tell her, "You're just his second choice. He has someone else as his main." He did whatever he pleased. There's a reunion coming up, organized by that classmate. I haven't attended a reunion in over 10 years, so I thought I wouldn't receive an invitation anymore, but now, out of the blue, one has arrived. What do you think? My secretary, Sarah, coldly brushed me off, saying, "Don't ask questions when you already know the answer." He probably hasn't changed a bit and wants to continue that revenge on you. Sarah, when you say it, it sounds convincing. Sarah is 32, 10 years younger than me, but she appears more mature than her age. That's due to her upbringing. She has a personality that attracts troublesome men, and she's had her fair share of difficulties. It's been 5 years since she became my secretary, but I can't forget what she said on her first day at work. Is the interview still going on? According to Sarah, I was so nice that she thought she was being tested. At her previous job at a law firm, she was favored by a capable but dysfunctional lawyer, and without realizing it, she became his de facto personal secretary, even though she was just supposed to be a clerk. Her husband also has a personality like a grown-up child, and she always complains, "I'm surrounded by such men." I thought maybe he wanted to apologize for what happened during our school days, but if Sarah says so, I'll skip attending. I was about to send back the invitation with a "will not attend" response, but Sarah hastily grabbed my arm. Wait a minute, isn't that the day of the important meeting? And it's at the same hotel, right? I have completely forgotten because the meeting was on a Saturday. There was a product I had long wanted to handle for my company. It was from an established bakery in Washington, supplying wedding venues within the state with bread, but they had no intention of dealing with venues outside the state due to concerns over quality degradation, and they had refused contracts multiple times. CEO Anderson had finally agreed to meet, saying he was willing to discuss it if he happened to be in New York. So, I can attend the reunion after all, but it feels like a bad omen that it's on the same day. Without letting me interfere, Sarah swiftly took a pen from her pocket and marked "will attend" on the invitation. Why are you marking "will attend"? Mr. Thompson, attending this reunion will surely bring something good. The times don't overlap, so please enjoy yourself. Sarah was smiling, but her eyes were filled with anger. I racked my brain, wondering if I had done something to upset her. On the day of the reunion was scheduled during lunchtime in a banquet hall. The meeting was at 4 p.m., so I had plenty of time to attend after it finished. I don't drink, but I decided to forget about David for a while and enjoy catching up with old friends. Hey, isn't that Michael? Long time no see. Despite my hopes, David spotted me as soon as the reunion began. His face, not even trying to hide his scheming, gave me a bad feeling. It's been a while, thanks for sending the invitation. It was my turn to be the organizer this year, and I just had to see your face again. Haha. From there, it was just an endless session of David bragging. I'm working at that wedding gift company now. You're in the same industry, so you must know the name, right? The company name he mentioned was that of the largest wedding gift company in the industry. I didn't know David worked there, but I certainly knew the company. Is that so? That's impressive. Right. I even created a gift series from scratch. I got a President's Award for it and a special bonus, so I went on an overseas spree. Haha. That story sounds familiar. I tried to remember where I'd heard it, but David's misconceptions made it impossible to focus. In your small company, it must be tough managing. and the CEO probably can't afford to give out special bonuses, right? You're still just an employee, aren't you? An employee. I founded my own company. Although David mentioned he knew I worked in the same industry, he seemed to be referring to a different company I used to work for, dealing with wedding foods. It's understandable not to know, given that we hadn't met since high school graduation. Even I didn't know which company David worked for until just now. You're a president. Don't make such a lame joke. It kills the mood, doesn't it? Just like in high school, David refuses to believe what I say. I tried to hand him my business card, but he brushed it off with, "I don't need your card, haha." You're always like this, trying to steal my girlfriend or beat me, huh? Too bad you can't win, haha. Then, he started rehashing the past, saying, "It was like this that time, and the same another time." The atmosphere got worse, and a male staff member intervened, thankfully. "Good evening, Mr. Thompson." Looking closer, it was the banquet manager, someone we always deal with as one of our customers. "Good evening. I apologize for the late greeting." "No worries. I heard you have a meeting later in our lounge." I was surprised by how well they knew it, but it seems CEO Anderson is a well-known guest at this hotel. Whenever he has business in New York, he always stays here. He has a sweet tooth, especially known for using the lounge for his love of sweets. I had heard CEO Anderson frequents this hotel, but I didn't realize the staff would know him by face and name. CEO Anderson loves our strawberry sundae. It requires expensive strawberries, so guests usually need a reservation, but we made a special arrangement today. After the staff member returned to work, I hoped the strawberry sundae would work in our favor, momentarily forgetting David was still there. "You have a meeting after this?" David asked with a smug smile. I hoped he wouldn't crash it. "I'm going to grab some food, I'm starving." I escaped for the moment, but he knew where the meeting was. David is likely to barge in. Yet, according to the staff member's earlier comments, changing the location might upset CEO Anderson. I blamed Sarah, who wasn't even here, for suggesting I attend. Sure enough, as our meeting began with 3 of us, David appeared. What a coincidence, working on a Saturday. He pretended to stumble upon us by chance. CEO Anderson prides in craftsmanship and values etiquette. He looked at me as if displeased when I cautiously checked his expression. "I'm in the middle of an important meeting. Can we talk later?" The more I try to appease him, the more David seems to enjoy it. He points at me dramatically, like a detective identifying a culprit in a drama. This man tried to steal my girlfriend. I wouldn't recommend dealing with someone like him. I don't know who you are, but how about doing business with us instead? David handed his business card to CEO Anderson. "I work at that wedding gift company, unlike his small firm. I think it would be in your best interest to contract with us." CEO Anderson's face turned red with anger. "What is this nonsense? I'm terribly sorry, CEO Anderson. We will contact you later to reschedule." I thought we could only regroup and try again later, but CEO Anderson was not open to it. "That's enough. I will not contract with your company." I quickly instructed our representative to follow CEO Anderson, then messaged Sarah, who was waiting in the parking lot, in a panic. I rushed to settle the bill and follow. "What have you done?" Right after I shouted that, a reply from Sarah came in. "There's no problem. Read her message, calming my mind." Sarah must have a plan. She's competent, and following her advice has never led me astray. Believing in her words, I took a deep breath. David seems eager to see me in despair, following me as I make my way to the entrance with a light jog. Bitter, isn't it? This is payback for that day. You stole my girlfriend, so I thought I'd steal your contract, haha. It's been over 20 years, and it's all based on his misunderstanding, yet he still holds a grudge. Let me tell you something good before we part. My wife is an incredibly capable secretary. After working as a clerk at a major law firm, She's now the executive secretary at a company famous for wedding foods. She's a beautiful woman, 10 years my junior. David continues, thinking my silence is an admission of defeat. You, with your limited education, couldn't even dream of being with, let alone meeting such a high-spec beauty, haha. As I exit the entrance to the sound of David's laughter, our representative is desperately trying to convince CEO Anderson. Please, let it be in time. As if in answer to my prayer, a black luxury car emerges from the underground parking lot and stops in front of us. Mr. Thompson, I'll take it from here. Sarah, stepping out of the car, looks straight at David. Thank goodness for Sarah, always quick to respond. I was waiting in the parking lot for this reason. It would be pointless if I didn't make it in time. David watches in astonishment as Sarah and I talk amicably. Why is Sarah here? It appears Sarah was indeed David's wife. I'm the executive secretary. It's not strange for me to be here, is it? The executive, this old man's, right. Even seeing Sarah and me converse, David still refuses to believe I'm the CEO. Still saying that after witnessing this, enough with the childish sore loser act. Sarah pulls out documents from her bag and offers them to CEO Anderson, who's about to get into the waiting car. CEO Anderson, these are comments from your customers living in New York on social media. CEO Anderson hesitates to take them, but Sarah doesn't back down. Gradually, as he reads, his expression changes. CEO Anderson, I respect your concern as a business owner about expanding outside the state and potentially compromising quality. However, people who have moved away from Washington and seen your breads on social media wish they could eat them for their own wedding. To those living in Washington, your bread is a taste of home. Please consider it. With a soft voice, CEO Anderson says, let's talk more about this next time, and gets into the car. We watch until the car is out of sight. That was close. I didn't know what would happen. Relieved, I sit down on the spot. I told you it would be okay. Didn't you trust me? I know you're capable, Sarah, but this was seriously worrying. After all, I didn't even know Sarah and David were married. I wish she had at least told me that much in advance. So, you're stealing my woman again. David, who had been quiet, glares at us, finally snapping back to reality. Like I said, I didn't steal anyone, neither then nor now. I'm just the president of the company Sarah works for, and she's my secretary. Sure, as if a single guy like you hiring a beautiful, younger woman like Sarah as your secretary must have an ulterior motive. I hired Sarah for her competence. Though David realized that by saying this, he's demeaning his own wife, implying she was chosen as a secretary only for her age and looks. Sarah seems unfazed, but I'm annoyed. He knows nothing of the hard work she does behind the scenes. This isn't the time to be arguing about this. Are you okay with how things are? What do you mean? Your company is negotiating with CEO Anderson too, right? Now that she mentions it, that's true. CEO Anderson once let slip during a phone conversation. He mentioned it was bothersome being negotiated with by David's company as well, asking to drop the subject of wedding foods. You handed out your business card, right? David's face turns pale. The business card, of course, had both the company name and his name on it. If I were in CEO Anderson's shoes, I'd probably think twice about doing business with a company that employs someone like David. Seriously, I knew you were immature, but I didn't expect you to be this thoughtless. Didn't it cross your mind that you might be disrupting a meeting with potential business partners, even competitors? Trembling, David fumbles with his phone to call his boss. We can hear him being scolded even from where we stand. A few days later, CEO Anderson contacted us saying, if you can come to Washington, I'm willing to listen again. So, the representative, Sarah, and I headed to Washington. Is that David? Upon entering the company, we see David and his team. With David looking quite sheepish next to a colleague and someone who appears to be his boss, probably here to apologize. Sarah doesn't even make eye contact with her husband. It's good of you to come." I was surprised to be greeted personally by CEO Anderson, who then shot David a sharp glare. "I won't be contracting with your company. I will be doing business with Michael's company. That's all there is to discuss. You may leave now." "Please wait." About the other day, David's attempt to apologize is cut short as only we are led into the guest room. I catch a glimpse of his dejected face as the door closes. "I apologize for the other day. He's a former classmate who mistakenly believes I stole his girlfriend." "That's irrelevant. What matters is, I hadn't finished my strawberry sundae, and I just called you to Washington out of spite. Don't worry about it. I promise to have a strawberry sundae ready if we meet again," and CEO Anderson smiles happily. The contract is finalized in a friendly atmosphere. Now people from Washington living all over the country and those unfamiliar with your company can enjoy your bread. Thank you. With this, we'll be able to bring smiles to even more people. We live in a convenient era where we can instantly see reactions on social media. I'm looking forward to everyone's responses. My wife insists on celebrating our wedding anniversary every year, so we're reminded of our wedding day annually. It's an honor to have our products be part of such special memories. Thank you. I felt impressed by his words. After that, we discussed creating exclusive products for wedding with CEO Anderson's company, and time flies. I had almost forgotten about David when I asked Sarah about him a month later. What happened to David? He lost his place in the company after that childish display in front of CEO Anderson and resigned suddenly one day. Resigned. That must have been tough. While I might have been pleased if David weren't Sarah's husband, I couldn't celebrate considering her situation. It's okay to be happy about it. I planned for this from the start. Sarah had long hoped to make David reflect on his actions, tired of his perpetual immaturity. The reunion seemed like a perfect opportunity. Thanks to you, Mr. Thompson, we're financially stable, and without children I can support us on my salary alone. David has become a stay-at-home husband, frequently criticized by Sarah. I would have divorced him if he hadn't learned from this. His lack of reflection despite everything would have been the last straw. Seeing Sarah's radiant smile, I vowed never to upset her. A year after the reunion, Sarah hands me a letter. "What's this?" "Open it, it's something that'll make you happy." I pull out a letter from an envelope with a charming design. It's filled with neat, feminine handwriting. It's things like this that make it all worth it, no matter the hardships. A bride from Washington expresses her gratitude for being able to use CEO Anderson's bread for her wedding. Mentioning it brought back childhood memories. It would be wonderful to continue offering such meaningful flavors for wedding. I slowly nodded, agreeing, that's true.